Well, at least we know we have a defense that can compete, and that's all you can ask for. I think the rookies played well also, and the fact that they had a running game. Those are three big things that I took out of this victory.
All right, let me ask you about the offensive line. You brought up an interesting point last week about the continuity on the offensive line. Was that one of the reasons why the running game was better, or do you credit Ryan Matthews more for that?
I think it's a combination of more so them having familiarity with the 3-4 defense as opposed to the last 2 weeks running against a 4-3. There's a lot of variations of blocking schemes and also, combination blocks that you do differently with both defenses. With a 4-down defense, the linebacker count is a lot different as opposed to a 3-4. They practice against a 3-4 all during training camp. They practice against 3-4 during mini camps and against, in training camp. So they have a better grasp on what to call, how to call it, and how to execute the offense with the 3-4 defense. Another thing, those guys, just another week that they played together and they're starting to get to know each other.
Chip Kelly said today, Barrett, that he didn't know who was a better fit for his offense in terms of the running back. But did you see Ryan Matthews? Did he have a better feel for that offensive line than Murray has the first 2 games?
It just may be a sense that, he may be the better athlete of the bunch. I think that he's a big guy, he's a fast guy. He came out of college, he ran a 4.3, and he's a physical runner. But the drawback of being the type of runner he is, he's often hurt. That's because he's so physical in his demeanor and how he runs the ball. He's coming down. He's not avoiding any contact. He's trying to give you everything you want when he has the ball carrying it. He's not going to avoid any type of crashes, and he's just going to go in there and stick his head in there. And that's what you want from a back, especially in this offense. I think a big thing that sets him apart from Murray, I think he's a little more explosive. He doesn't have the speed and agility that Sproles has, but he has that physical size that neither one.
Talking with Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad. You can catch him 6 to 8 weekday mornings on the Comcast network. As last night or yesterday afternoon, I guess you could say, the Eagles get out of there with an ugly win. Let me ask you then about Sam Bradford, and I don't know what words you would use to describe his play so far, but he has certainly not lived up to my expectations. What is your take on the Eagles quarterback?
I've always been a Sam Bradford fan since virtually they signed him, and I was a fan back when he was in college. It's just breaking down and evaluating film on him in college and what he's done in the league. I really think that he needs to get in that little playbook a little more so he can go through his progressions more. I haven't seen him go past the first and second read. And, with his offense, you may have to go to the third or fourth read to be successful. I think the offensive line has given him virtually enough time to get the ball out. He's not getting hit as much as he had the previous game. But, I think his progression in his offense is kind of stagnant right now, and he has to take it to another level and really start getting into that third and fourth read so he gets the ball out. Even though, he's getting the ball out fast, I don't think he's going to the receiver that's open sometimes. And, I saw a lot of routes in which, that developed a little later that he could have hit. They were easier to throw than the routes that he threw to yesterday. In this offense is not necessarily a guy that on the front side, it may be the guy on the back side that's open and who the ball should be going to.
Yeah, and it seems though there are some plays that are there. I mean, I thought yesterday the Eagles wide receivers, which, we have been critical of that they haven't been able to go down the field or haven't been able to get open against that Jets secondary who's pretty darn good, they had some openings yesterday and he was missing them.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, I just got through watching the film again. And I saw, even a basic play as far as there was a slant on the backside against Cromartie, and it was Miles Austin, and he should have went to the front side where the three receiver side where they ran a combination route where they ran off two go routes in front of an underneath route. They could have went to Matthews, and it would have been wide open. Jordan Matthews would have been wide open and had the first down, but instead he chose to go to a cover Miles Austin, and he didn't get the play. He didn't get the first down. So those are the things that I think he needs to progress with. Those are the things I think he needs to look at, and I think that he'll evaluate them and from this point on, try to go out there and execute it, a little better.
How much when a guy drops a pass and then he does it consistently, I mean, 1 or 2 times in a game, how much does that force the quarterback sometimes to maybe not go his way?
Well, at this point, he can't be picky because these guys aren't getting as much separation as most receivers do. They're not as explosive that I thought they were going to be. A lot of the times they're covered in the field, and he hasn't had the opportunity to really hit a wide open guy. So he's had to throw guys open. And a lot of times when they do drop the ball, there is a little bit of a voice in the back that says that, man, I'm not going to Miles Off anymore. I'm not going to throw to Ryan Matthews, because he's dropped a couple. I'm not going to do this. Those are things that, I'm hoping he's not going to do. But realistically, I'd be thinking about it if it was myself.
You think Bradford is still not 100%? I mean, is he holding back? Is he still? A lot of people think he looks scared, that he got that look in his eye, that he just doesn't want to take hits. Do you watch him and say this guy is still not mentally ready to play in the NFL?
Well, I think it might be a little, in the back of his mind, but I don't think everybody's saying there's a look of being scared. I just think that's his look. Not to say anything about, how this kid looks, but he's not the most intense looking guy in the world, and he doesn't look like the most involved guy when he's out there on the field. He almost looks lost more times than not. He's really not lost. He's really, deeply involved in the game. He just doesn't look like it, So I don't think it's more so a sense that he's not into the game or he's looking scared. I'm just thinking that this just how he looks. He looks like it when he's on the podium. He looks kind of the same way, So it's not necessarily he's playing scared or looking scared. He's just waiting for things to develop. I think that he's going to, be that quarterback we're looking towards the future, but he just needs to settle down a little bit, get more involved in getting in that little black book, that little playbook. Well, they use iPads now, getting that little iPad now, and as they go forward,
Surfaces.
He's going to get better as he learns the offense more.
They got Microsoft Surfaces out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Barrett Brooks with us, Breakfast on Broad, of course, won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now we take a look at this game from yesterday. Let me get your thoughts then. You look at Bradford, and only one receiver caught a football yesterday. That's Jordan Matthews. Do the Eagles have enough at wide receiver to somewhere down the line say, if this offense starts rolling, do they have enough at wide receiver to help it get to where it needs to go?
To be honest, I really don't think so at this point. I think they need to maybe look in another direction and get a guy that's going to be an impact player, maybe somebody that's it may cost them a little bit, because I don't see anybody stepping up besides Jordan Matthews and being the second or third receiver. You can go a full game without seeing Cooper or realizing he's even on the field. And, at this point, Nelson Aguilar is just a little slow in his progression as far as being a receiver that he can count on, that Sam Bradford can count on. If you look at it, Huff didn't even dress up yesterday. I don't know whether it's an injury or I don't know whether, he talked too much, talking about, they were calling the plays. Chip might have said, hey, you didn't get the memo. I run things around here, so you keep your mouth shut, son, so this guy didn't even dress. So I don't know what that was. He may have been injured, but all I know is you don't run Chip the wrong way or you'll be out of here. So I guess he'll learn from this experience.
Yeah.
But even still, if he did dress, he didn't. I don't feel as though he's a guy that's really contributing in the offense.
Yeah, he it seems like you're right. He might have got the late scratch there for your opening your mouth, but you're right. He hasn't added the element that I guess people thought that he could when they drafted him last year. He was like a 3rd or 4th round pick, Huff, too. So that he's been a big time disappointment. Over the other side of the ball, Barrett, their defense. It seems like this is the identity of this team has now become a defensive minded team. Do you see that too?
But can you believe this? Everybody was calling for Davis's head and get him out of here for a minute, and then, he called a pretty good game yesterday. I will admit that he put his guys in a better position to take advantage of what their athletic talent allows them to do. If you look at Nolan Carroll's a guy that plays pretty good bumper runs. He was able to get within the guy's face and kind of redirect him a little bit and run with him. And, it really looked well. Rowe did the same thing, but on the other side of the field, he put Maxwell in a better position. I think that Maxwell is a zone corner. He's a guy that likes to let things develop in front of him and then attack downhill, make plays. You know, I kind of correlate him to Asante Samuels, a guy that wants things to develop in front of him and he reacts after it. Instead of being a reactor, he's a guy that's going to force reaction. He wants to be a reactor instead. You know, he wants to read it, opens up, go ahead and make a play that way. So put your guys in the best position for them to be successful, and you know, 9 times out of 10, they're going to do what they're supposed to do. So I saw that change from last week and the week before with this week's game plan, and it really worked for them. Yeah,
and I thought, with Hicks filling in for the 2 guys at linebacker, I really thought he played a really good game. Rowe stepped up, so 2 rookies there. Brandon Bear, a 3rd on the depth chart with Hart, and then, of course, Thornton not being able to play. They got some big games from guys who have not played a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, the rookie, he really played aggressive, and that was the biggest thing. He may not have been, he may not have known the defense as well as everybody else in that field, but what he did do, he did it full speed. He did it aggressive. He came downhill. He took on blocks. When he blitzed, he finished the blitz. He was able to, create a little havoc in the backfield, and also in his pass drops. He was coming downhill, hitting receivers, making tackles in front of him. He was just going out there and giving it all. And that's all you want from a rookie. That's all you want from a player, period. I think it was kind of infectious on how guys played. I'm gonna guarantee this: there's gonna be some guys trying to get healthy from this point on because he's out there ready to play, and he's not taking any prisoners. So I think that that Michael Kendrick is going to get healthy a little bit quicker now that he sees the way Hicks is playing. So he's definitely put himself in a situation where he can only get better, number one, and then they start relying on him a little more, number two.
Do you think, going back to the injury, do you think yesterday Kelly was basically insinuating that Murray had a shot to play if he wanted to, he chose not to? I
did see that, but I mean, Murray's making a lot of coins, so of course he's going to want him on the field. And, Coach has a little bit of this way of saying things indirectly, and it digs directly into who you are as a man. So I really believe that, that was kind of pointed towards him in an indirect way. But, I don't think that Murray is really worried about. I think Murray is more so worried about what Matthews did on the field and knowing that Ryan Matthews is a player that's come to play, and he's going to take advantage of every opportunity, every rep he gets.
You ever been in a situation where you play with a guy who's making more money, but the other guy is a better option for you? Has that caused problems?
It had caused problems when I was with the Eagles, probably my whole career with the Eagles. They brought countless guys in to take my position, like Steve Wallace, Jermaine Mayberry. And, I had to fight them off, you know what I mean? They never felt as though I was a starter, but yet still I started all 16 games that I played for the Eagles. So it was one of those things where, all right, now who else is going to come next? Steve Wallace they brought in here. I started in front of him, Richard Cooper. It depends on the size of the heart and the size of, how much will you want to go out there and be the guy. So, it's going to be a point where they're going to have to really honestly evaluate, is Matthews a better player than Murray? And I've always said yes since they signed both of them. I said Murray is a more intense player, Murray's a bigger player, and he's a faster player. He's more explosive than Murray. So, I think Matthews is making it real tough on him. There's going to be a running back controversy, I think, and that's what I've always said. I said it last week on my breakdown. So
I agree when we entered the season. I said I think Matthews is the more talented guy. It's just that Murray has more accolades, and he's got the rushing title in Dallas, so he's a very high profile as opposed to Matthews. But Matthews was a first-round pick. I mean, this guy's got a lot of talent. He just can't stay on the field.
Well, you know what? I think it's one of these things. If you put Matthews behind, all the line they had in Dallas, I can almost guarantee you that Matthews will probably have about 200 more yards. So he probably had 2,000 yards as opposed to 1,800 yards. So it really.
So Murray was leaving meat on the bone.
I'm just saying from my perspective, from my analysis and my breakdown. Yeah. I think if you put. Even if you put Shady back there, Shady maybe had 2,200 yards more as opposed to, 2,000 yards, So it really shows the dynamic work ethic that Matthews has and how hard he runs, and that's going to be a major factor as they split these reps going forward.
Let me ask you, Barrett, I know they win the game yesterday, but how uneasy was watching the final 8 minutes or so of that game?
Well, man, it was a nail-biter, and I really think that, Chip Kelly called off the dogs. I thought he preserved the game instead of going out and putting more points on the board. I thought he just wanted to get out of there with a win, as opposed to him, his theory last year and the year before of keeping the pedal down and scoring as many points as you can. I think he's starting to turn from that philosophy because if you look at it, he slowed the offense down a little bit, even in the first and second quarter, leading into the third quarter. He slowed the offense down a little bit, let them process things a little better so they can make better decisions. So watch the game and evaluate the time in which they were snapping the ball as opposed to the time they usually do the previous 2 years. It was definitely slower.
Yeah, and if the guy, I guess, Copels, doesn't get that penalty to give them the automatic first down, they got to punt the ball away, and the Jets get the ball back with enough time. I mean, they realistically caught a big break late in that game.
Oh, absolutely. There were a couple of breaks, just like when Sproles got slammed by, what's his name, Davis or something like that. I mean, he got slammed. I think it was more so the fact that he's a smaller guy and got slammed, as opposed to how violent the slam was. He's just, and I think that he was just, the was just finishing the play, and for him to call a unnecessary roughness penalty, I thought that was kind of a little weak, a weak call.
We're talking with Barrett Brooks here. Don't forget Breakfast on Broad tomorrow at 6 a.m. for more from Barrett and the guys on the Eagles and their win over the Jets here. All right, last couple things. Last year, Barrett, they were able to, the reason I thought, you look back at last season and say, why did this team win 10 games? Defense, turnovers, special teams, touchdowns. They got 4 turnovers on defense and a punt return yesterday. It was the same formula that they've used in the past. And that seems like the way that they're going to have to do things again. Turnovers are better. But for them to get 4 turnovers and a punt return and almost lose that game, what does that tell you overall about this team moving forward?
What, huh? I thought this was an offensive-minded team. This is a Chip Kelly-ran team. I thought Chip was the all-purpose and guru on running offense and getting as many plays as he can. So it just shows the nature of how things have changed as the roster has changed. And maybe they were more accustomed to running that type of offense with Andy Reid's guys as opposed to the guys that he's brought on this team. Oh, picture that. They're supposed to be customizing his offense to fit his offense when in all actuality, maybe Andy Reid's guys are a better fit.
Well, we'll see it move forward here. They get the Redskins. They got an interesting schedule coming up here with the Redskins and then the Saints. I mean, they got 2 winnable, and then the Giants. They got 3 really winnable games. Boom, boom, boom. But they're going to have to take a big step in the right direction. The way they closed that game out yesterday kind of leaves you a little uneasy, but we'll see. Were you impressed with the changes, adjustments that Chip Kelly made?
Well, I did like the changes that Coach Davis did on the defensive side of the ball. I thought they adjusted very, very well with the new personnel that they had in the game as opposed to the starters at the linebacker position and also the safety position where, Maragos couldn't go and Rowe came in and it was a pretty good backup, played pretty well, when his number was called, an interception and a couple tackles. I think he did well, a couple pass defense. So I thought he really, really adjusted well. I also think that Chip Kelly adjusted well on the outside of the ball, slowing things down a little bit and allowing his players to analyze what was going on before they snapped the ball. I think it led to a better run mix just because the offensive line knew who to block and how to block them, and those guys started working a little well there. There's a little gelling going on, and they're only getting better as the season goes along. So I think Chip went in with a game plan, changed up his game plan from last week, kind of threw that game plan away, and went against the Jets with a totally open mind and really went out there and allowed his players to be put in the best position to be successful. And that was the biggest thing I received from last week's game.
All right. After 3 weeks in the NFC East, who looks the best?
Well, I don't know. It's like a toss-up right now because if you look at the game against Dallas had against Atlanta, if you take their first half, it's kind of the same. They looked like they were all world. They were world beaters, and take the second half, they lost it all. You look at the Eagles, their piece of work, their body of work. It depends on what offense you get because, as you can see, the offense and the special teams is going to do all right. All they need is a little more help from their offense and they could be world beaters also. So I think it's a toss-up between the Eagles and Dallas right now, especially when Dallas is not as healthy as the Eagles are in key positions, especially at the quarterback position and the receiver position. But I do think that the Eagles lack at the receiver position to really compete with Dallas. So, I mean, it's really a toss-up. I think the Eagles' defense is better than the Dallas' defense, but the offensive line where everything starts at is better in Dallas. So they're kind of even. They're kind of on the same page, and that's only because there are key positions that are missing at this point.
All right, Barrett Brooks, of course, tomorrow morning, 6 to 8, Breakfast on Broad, the Comcast Network, and, of course, every Monday with Barrett's Breakdown here on 97.3. All right, man, we'll talk to you then.
Have a good one, bro.